We are live.
Welcome to episode 7 of the Zoinked podcast. I'm Walker Weiss, joined alongside by co-hosts Sam Halley and Ethan Barnacle. Today we are going to be talking about the Fightins. Yes, the Fightins and some major questions heading into the World Series versus the Houston Astros. We will also be talking about college football, giving predictions on what teams will make the playoffs, Heisman odds, and more. So our first question is, what is the most important thing the Phillies have to do to win this series?
The most important thing they have to do is the bullpen has to step up and not give up so many runs. Starting pitchers are playing amazing. You got a good bullpen. You got to put in Noah Syndergaard. Like, I don't know what they were doing, but you got to put him in to end it. And Zach Eflin, Rangers Suarez sent him to the World Series. So the bullpen has to play well.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I think I believe, that the Phillies need to score a lot of runs, and they need to score a lot because the Astros bullpen has been exceptional this postseason. And I think they've had a or other batters have had a hard time with their bullpen, not just the bullpen, but the pitching alone. So yeah, they really need to get the bats going.
I agree with you, Sam. Yeah, they need to continue to hit the shit out of the baseball. At the end of the season, the Astros outscored the Phillies 13-5 in their 3-game series, and the Phillies struggled a lot more with hitting the baseball during that time. But recently, the team has been on fire. I think if we can out-hit the Astros, we can win the World Series. And I think the Astros are the deepest in pitching in the MLB. So that's going to be a fun matchup. So moving on now to our next question. Can Bryce Harper sustain his fantastic postseason versus a great pitching team?
Obviously. Of course he can. I mean, who would say no? I feel like he's not just a top 5 player in our team, but I would say he's a top 5 player in the entire league. And guys at his status find ways to win the biggest games. And there's no doubt in my mind that Bryce Harper is going to really step it the fuck up, and he's going to go off, I think. And he's going to play the best baseball he can as well as the rest of the team. But yes, Bryce will definitely keep up this postseason run.
I agree with you there, Sam. He's got 5 home runs. The Padres pitching is outstanding, and he went off versus them. I don't see anybody stopping him, really. Justin Verlander might get him a couple times, but I think once Harper gets used to him a little bit, I think he's gonna hit a bomb versus him. I see it.
Yeah, I think Bryce Harper will sustain his fantastic postseason. I mean, he's been great so far. His batting average throughout the postseason is like .419, I'm pretty sure.
It is .419.
Yeah, and I mean, he's one of the best players in Major League Baseball, and he's just been unreal throughout the playoffs so far. Even though, like, the Astros pitching, that's certainly going to be a challenge for him. I think he can overcome that challenge and beat it. So now going to question number 3. Regardless of how the Phillies finish this postseason, should Rob Thompson be named Manager of the Year?
I don't think he should, just because he started in the middle of the year. But we should give him props for what he did. He pulled this team from out of the ground. They were like 10 games back, and then they really put it on, and he took them right to the playoffs. But I just think it was too late to say that he should be Manager of the Year.
I mean, that's not a bad point. I mean, yeah, I can see your point there, Ethan. I said yes for this question. Like you said, took a team that was deep in the ground, pulled them out, took them to the playoffs, took them to the NLCS, took them to the World Series. I think any manager that's capable of doing that, especially coming halfway or taking over as the manager halfway through the year, yeah, I would say so.
I'm saying he should get this award 100%. I mean, he turned around a Joe Girardi managed team that started out 22-29 on the year and then went 65-46 from there on out. Bryce Harper was injured for multiple weeks throughout the season, and we still managed to qualify for a wild card spot and even make the playoffs. And like since then, we've been the ultimate underdog, and we just continue to upset teams. And he's done the unimaginable for Philly fans everywhere. And I mean, no one literally predicted the Phillies to get this far after that 22-29 start, the beginning of the season. Like, who was thinking that from there, that this dude was just gonna take the Phillies to the World Series like that? Like, no one expected that.
Literally nobody, not even
No.
myself or any of us.
Yep.
I didn't. I thought that they were done for once they were like 10 games back.
Yeah. So now to the next question. Who will have the best batting stats throughout the World Series? Who will hit the most home runs? What pitcher will have the best performance?
All right, so I'll keep this answer short and sweet. Best batting stats, Bryce Harper. Most home runs, I'll go with Schwarber. I think started off rough, but he's been picking it up, and I think he's going to play his best baseball these next week or two or however long it takes. And then what was the last one? Best pitching performance, I'll go with Zach Wheeler.
Okay, so the Astros in the postseason right now are batting 227. The Phillies are batting 237. So I'll give the batting to the Phillies. And Bryce Harper in the postseason is batting 419 with 5 home runs. Dude's doing amazing, and I don't see him slowing down. He's hyped up for the World Series. And Zach Wheeler is pitching ERA of 1.79. And I know Verlander's postseason is like, I looked it up overall. It's like 3.19 or something like that. So I'll give pitching to Wheeler.
Yeah, I also took Bryce Harper for batting because he's been insane throughout the postseason so far. And I think it's just going to continue despite who he's facing on the mound. It doesn't matter. He's that good of a hitter that he can continue this performance. And for home runs, I took Schwarber, obviously. I mean, 46 on the freaking year. I feel like a lot of times, like, I mean, yeah, he gets hits and stuff here and there, but a lot of times it's either like a home run or he's freaking striking out or something. It's either one of those two. But in the playoffs recently, he's been better with that. And for pitching, I took Justin Verlander for best performance. He's 18-4 on the season, which is second best in the MLB. He has an ERA of 1.75 and is having a truly excellent year, striking out 185 batters. Now to our fifth question about the Phillies. If the Phillies can win the World Series, would it be the greatest underdog story in Philly history and greater than when the Eagles defeated the Patriots in Super Bowl 52?
I don't think that it would be as good as the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. I mean, you got your starting quarterback in Wentz that took him to 13-3. Goes out versus the Rams with an ACL injury. You guys think your season's over? I mean, what backup quarterback comes in, rolls through the playoffs, and wins the Super Bowl versus Tom Brady? Like, you just don't see that. And the Phillies deserve to be in the World Series, and I just don't think it is as much as an underdog series as the Eagles beating Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. It pains me to say that, but it's true.
Oh,
Go, baby.
Oh my gosh.
you know, I really struggled with this one. I had to think about it a lot, but ultimately I came with the answer yes. Mainly because the Phillies have won a lot of games that they weren't supposed to win. They were 22 and 29 in the beginning of June. By then, I think a lot of people, including myself, have written them out. Eagles, on the other hand, were clear-cut contenders all season long up until Wentz goes down. But the way I saw it, Nick Foles really came through against the Falcons and then did the same against the Vikings. So in a way, I think the Eagles belonged there at the time. And but yeah, I would say the Phillies could definitely be a bigger underdog story only because of where they were back in June and what was expected of them, even going into the playoffs back in September. Because I didn't think they were good enough to go to the World Series, but yeah, here we are. I knew the Eagles were going to the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah, I agree with that, Sam, and I disagree with yours, Ethan. I mean, yeah, like the Eagles, they finished 13-3 that year, and like they already had a solid team. Nick Foles, like I honestly watching him, like I believed in him the whole time, and like knew he could get it done. I never expected, like in 1,000 years, that the Phillies were going to get to the World Series this year. Like throughout the Eagles season, I was like, well, they're capable of making it there if Nick Foles can fit the role. And I believed in him that whole time and he was able to make it happen. But I think this would be a crazier upset for the Phillies to defeat the Astros, who like the Astros are easily the best team in baseball. And if you look at the Phillies record compared to the Astros record, like huge difference in wins and losses. So I think like the Phillies were the worst record team to like make the playoffs this year. And the Eagles going into playoffs were not. They had a solid record. So even though Carson Wentz got injured, they still had their whole team, offense and defense, other than quarterback. So as long as they had a quarterback that could fit the spot and they could call the right plays to be able to win, um, that's all it took really. And Nick Foles played his part. So I'm saying that it'll be even crazier if the Phillies win, honestly. So now going to the final question about the Phillies. How many games will the World Series go, and who do you have winning?
Realistically, I think it can go to 6 or 7 games. Obviously, I think I could be speaking for all of us. I probably am, but I would love to see the Phillies sweep the Astros. That would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, it would be.
Mm.
And there hasn't been a single home team to win at their own stadium since the 2013 Red Sox. And I think that the Astros are going to really bring it to the Phillies this next week to the point where I don't see that changing. So yeah, I think the game could go down to like 6 or 7 games. I don't think it's going to be like where the Phillies were just straight dominating the Cardinals or dominating the Braves or the Padres. I think the Astros are a different breed of baseball, and they're going to bring on the fight. Like it's going to be intense.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to go to 6 games. I think the Phillies are going to win that series. The Astros just don't know what's coming for them. I mean, Philly is hot right now, and if they don't slow down, their hitting is just going to continue. And I don't think the Astros bullpen will be able to keep up with them. And Philly, for the Phillies at least, they have one of the best fan bases in the MLB. And it's really tough for an away game to win in Philly. So I see them winning at least 2 in Philly out of their 3 games, and then 1 in or I'll say two in Houston and 2 in Philly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Phillies have kind of been throughout this postseason. They've been freaking road warriors for the most part. They've been hot on the road. Yeah, I'm taking the Phillies 4-3 over the Astros. I think it's going to go down to the wire. I mean, both teams have been playing phenomenal baseball. They both have the guys to be there. The Phillies have really put it together recently. But yeah, I think it's going to come down to the very end and it's going to go all 7 games. But I think the Phillies will take that in Houston. And Houston fans will be very upset. And it'll be really funny.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, that is it for the Phillies. Now we are moving on to college football. So 6 teams remain unbeaten heading into week 9. What order are we ranking these teams in from least to greatest? Would you put Alabama ahead of any of these teams despite their tough loss to Tennessee?
Yeah. I got 1 Georgia, 2 OSU, 3 Tennessee, 4 Michigan. And then I would have Bama at 5 if they were undefeated, but they're not. So I got to put Clemson in front of them.
Yeah. So I have Georgia at 1, Ohio State at 2, Clemson at 3, Michigan at 4, Tennessee at 5, and TCU at 6. And no, I wouldn't put Bama above any of those undefeated teams because it's in order to be better than an undefeated team, you have to beat them, and otherwise they wouldn't be undefeated. And Tennessee was better than Alabama that day. So yeah, no, I wouldn't put Alabama over any other undefeated teams simply because of one loss.
I think I would put Alabama in front of TCU though. I think Alabama would just steamroll them.
Maybe. Nah, I don't know. Probably.
Sam, I thought you were mic'd up for a second. It looked like that was like a mic right there, but I guess that's just like how your shirt is right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does look like it.
I must be tripping or something. But,
I'll have to watch it back later. See what you mean.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it a little bit, but I don't know. I was just focusing on that for some reason. But anyways, so I got number 6 currently, Clemson, because I feel like their wins so far, like, I mean, yeah, they've beat ranked teams, but I feel like TCU has had better wins overall. Like they've had more blowout wins, and TCU, they had a crazy like overtime comeback win against Oklahoma State. That was pretty insane. I didn't expect that to happen, but I got TCU at 5. I got Georgia at 4. You guys are probably shocked by that. Yeah, I got Georgia. I got Georgia at 4.
Man.
Michigan at 3.
That's crazy.
Tennessee 2, and then Ohio State 1. And then I'd put Alabama ahead of Clemson and TCU, but that's it. So in the number 5 spot,
that's pretty valid, except Georgia not being 1.
In the number 5 spot, would push TCU to 6 and Clemson to 7. But yeah, Georgia. I mean, dude, they had some freaking close games this year against some like poopy teams like Missouri.
Yeah,
they almost lost in that. Like there's a couple games I was like, I don't know, like, and they're playing
Florida. They almost lost to A&M.
Yeah, and they're playing
and Texas. Don't forget about
that. They're playing Florida this weekend.
Yeah, Georgia.
Is that game in the Swamp?
I think it's in Georgia. Let me see though.
But yeah, I think Georgia could slip up this year. I don't think they're as good as people think they are.
Yeah.
I think Tennessee is honestly the best team in the SEC right now.
Yeah, they're playing in Georgia.
I still think Florida could somehow win that game. It's a rivalry game.
So. I agree with you.
Yeah.
If AR plays outstanding, I can see them winning.
Like, I mean, they took Tennessee down to the wire, and
they did
a really shitty throw at the end. But
It's all right though.
Yeah. I mean, like, Florida hasn't had too bad of losses this year. Just 3 to. I mean, all the teams we lost to are ranked currently, so that's not. It's not too
And
bad.
LSU's been doing really good too right now. So
Mhm.
yeah.
So what games are you looking forward to watching the most this weekend and why? Well, kind of just talked about it, but all right, someone go ahead.
You guys talked about it, but I think this one might be a little. I don't know. This is probably going to be a bit of an unexpected answer. Probably not, but I'm gonna go with Penn State, Ohio State, mainly because I'll be at that game. But no, but for real though, I don't know. I feel like this game against Ohio State is very important as a Penn State fan because it's like if you beat Ohio State, I feel like that's huge. Maybe just a regular game for them, but as a Penn State fan, like if Penn State goes out and wins this game, like we're gonna party all night. I guarantee it.
Spoiler alert, not happening. And
Probably not.
we're gonna party all night anyway. It doesn't
Probably
matter.
not gonna win, but yeah, you're right. You're right. We party
Even if
all
Penn
night.
State loses, we're still partying all night.
All right, so looking at the schedule here, and really the only close ranked teams that are playing this week are Penn State and Ohio State. Penn State at 13, Ohio State at 2, and the next best ranked teams are Oklahoma State and Kansas State. I mean, I got to go with Penn State and Ohio State. It's the closest ranked. Penn State 1 loss, Ohio State undefeated. I think it's gonna be a blowout, but I mean I got to go with the rankings, so I think that's gonna be the best game.
It'll be just like the Michigan game, maybe even worse.
Oh yeah,
Probably worse.
I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, honestly, there's not really like a lot of excellent games this week. But yeah, Penn State, Ohio State is the top like ranked games, I guess. But I'm gonna say, well, yeah, Penn State, Ohio State, because Sam and I are going to that. And then the Florida and Georgia game, just because both of those are rivalry games. And I mean, Penn State still hasn't beat freaking Ohio State since 2016, and I really don't see it happening because they haven't like changed shit at Penn State, aka their fucking coaches. So,
but he's mid as a coach.
Yep. But yeah, if I had to pick one of those games to go watch that I would think would be more entertaining, I feel like the Florida and Georgia game that will be closer than the Penn State Ohio State game if Anthony Richardson comes to play and isn't looking like shit. Hopefully not, but yeah, I think that game has a potential to be closer because I don't think Florida is that bad of a team. But anyways, now to next question. Who are your college football playoff qualifiers and how do you think they will fare in the playoffs?
All right, so I have number 1 Georgia, 2 OSU, 3 Tennessee, and 4. I don't know. This is going to be close. It's either going to be Michigan or Alabama, but I think Alabama's going to make it just because they got just a cupcake schedule coming up, and the analysts just sucked them off. So I just think Bama is going to easily have the top 4 spot. And I don't know, man. We'll see. But I think Bama's going to get that 4th spot.
Yeah, I also have Georgia at 1, Ohio State at 2, Tennessee at 3, and then Bama at 4. I could see there being a Ohio State Tennessee college football final. But I think Ohio State, I feel like I think they have a good shot. Like they're due. I think Ohio State is definitely due for a natty. So yeah, that's what I think is gonna happen.
Yeah, I think I didn't say my pick. My bad. I don't know. I gotta agree with Sam. I think OSU just has it this year.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I got number 4. I think Michigan's going to get into that spot. They're going to have one loss. That one loss is going to be against Ohio State. Ohio State is going to go into the playoff undefeated. I think they're going to be at number 1 unless, well, I think Tennessee is also going to beat Georgia coming up here then soon in the next couple of weeks. I think Tennessee will beat Georgia. So who knows? Since it's the SEC, they might put Tennessee at 1 and Ohio State at 2. But I think Ohio State is the clear number 1 on the offensive and defensive side of the football. But Tennessee's offense is pretty ridiculous, so I would put them at 2. And then for the number 3, even though I had this team like at 6 right now, I think they're going to make the playoffs because I don't think they're going to lose a game the rest of the season. Like, I think they might have maybe a few more close games, but I think they're going to end up remaining undefeated. And for that reason, they're going to put them in the playoffs. And that team is Clemson. So I got Clemson getting in at number 3, but I think they'll get pooped on by Tennessee then in that game. And then my number 1 is Ohio State. And did I say my number 4 is Michigan already? Yeah, I did. Yeah. But yeah, my number 1, obviously, Ohio State, because I got Ohio State being undefeated, and then Tennessee also being undefeated, Clemson undefeated, and then Michigan with 1 loss. But yeah, I think Georgia's going to lose once, maybe twice this year. And then I got Bama losing a second game for sure. But yeah, Georgia might only lose 1 game, but I think Michigan will have a closer game, or have a close game with Ohio State at least, that shows that they are like a pretty solid team and that they'll be the clear number 4 because the whole season so far, they've just like blown teams out, them and Ohio State both for the most part, other than Ohio State's one like win at the beginning of the year against Notre Dame. But like Ohio State has Jackson Smith and Jigba back now, who is their number 1 wideout, who's going to be one of the top NFL picks next year. Like their wide receiver group is already crazy already, but getting him back, like seeing what he did last year, like, oh my gosh, like that team is absolutely loaded with guys. So to the next question, we got TCU goes unbeaten and wins the Big 12 championship. Should they make the playoffs? Why or why not?
I feel like you could really I feel like you could make a case for this question for both answers, because if you say no, I feel like it's like, what if they're just another like Cincinnati type of team where they go up against a team like Bama and just get the shit kicked out of them?
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think it comes down to the best of the best teams in college football coming together in this exact format and just going head to head. So I guess for that reason, I would say, why not?
I don't think that they will make the playoffs at all if they go undefeated. Um, they beat Oklahoma State, which is the best team they beat, and Oklahoma State's only loss is TCU. But I just and Oklahoma State's record is 6-1. But like Sam said, if you go against like a Bama, Tennessee, Georgia, even Clemson or Michigan, you're just they're not going to win that game.
Yeah, I agree with that. They'll be like Oklahoma freaking going in there, freaking in the previous years, getting freaking blown out every time in the playoffs. Not even fun to watch. But yeah, anyways, I feel like the Big 12 isn't a strong enough conference in general compared to these other conferences and like these top tier powerhouse teams. I don't think TCU is one of them. Even if they go undefeated, like maybe if they go undefeated, put them at like 5. I'd say you put them at like 5 or something. But like they're not playing teams like freaking Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, like any teams like that, or Alabama or Tennessee, like any of them, they're not playing them. So yeah, Oklahoma State was their biggest win this season, and it was like a comeback win in overtime. They were down by a lot earlier in that game. Their defense let up a lot of points. But yeah, I feel like they won't be able to make it in even if they go undefeated. And a lot of people will probably be pissed off by that, but I just don't think they're in a strong enough conference or that their schedule is strong enough to be like, yeah, they're this good. Okay. Now moving to the next question.
You all right, Sam?
Sam, you look dead. Yeah.
Y'all see me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Couldn't
right.
even see myself. I just kind of was like, I don't know.
So
I don't know what I was doing.
question number 11, what will be the ESPN Instant Classic #1 ranked game of the college football regular season, or has it already happened?
I'll just make this short and sweet. Alabama versus Tennessee. Enough said.
Yeah. I agree. Bama versus Tennessee. Very offensive game. You know, I think when we're all watching a game together, that's exactly what we want to see is a lot of offense. And you have two of the best teams in the nation going at it. And it looked like at both points that both teams had the game won at some point. Might have just repeated myself there. My bad. But yeah, no, you guys know what I mean. Yeah, obvious answer, Alabama versus Tennessee.
Yeah, I would go to that game, but I think that the Ohio State Michigan game overall is going to be the best. I think that uh, that game is going to be kind of similar to the Alabama Tennessee game because both their offenses are pretty solid. They do have good defenses too. Maybe it won't be as high scoring, but it's still going to be up there, I think, no matter what, because both those teams will score like that. So I'm very excited for that game, and I think that one will end up being the #1 instead of the Tennessee Alabama. Okay, so now final question: who has the best shot at proving themselves as the Heisman favorite?
So for this answer, I will go Bryce Young. And the reason I say that is because we good Walker.
Yeah, I just didn't like that pick.
Who would you go with? You go first. I want to hear.
No, you go. Do yours.
All right.
I'll do mine after, but I just
All
didn't
right,
like that
fair
pick.
enough.
That's why I made that face.
Word. All right. Well, I'll go Young. Only because Bama is at their best when he's in the game. I think he gives his team the best shot to win. So yeah, give me Bryce Young.
I know this is going to be a long shot for me, but I got the Tennessee QB, Hendon Hooker. His QBR is 91.4, and that's second in college football. And he only has one interception all year, and that's first in college football. And he beat Bama. So you got to put that in perspective too.
But
I know
Bama's
he
overrated,
doesn't have a lot of yards, but I mean, what are you laughing about?
I said Bama's overrated this year, though.
Oh, yeah, they are. They are. But yeah, I mean, I know it's a long shot, but I gotta go with Hendon Hooker. He has impressed me all year.
Yeah, I agree. Hendon Hooker is definitely up there. He's like had the top stats so far, like you said. But I think it's going to come down to either him or CJ Stroud.
Yep.
So whatever quarterback can play better in the big games and has the better stats in the big games, I think deserves to win the Heisman. And I think that's going to come down to how Hendon Hooker performs against Georgia, and how C.J. Stroud can perform. Well, I mean, I guess throughout the rest of the season, yeah, anyways, but like those big games are really like how they perform in those games are going to be keys to whether they win the Heisman or not. But and whether their stats tank or not. But yeah, CJ Stroud has another weapon now, his prime weapon to throw to. So who knows? His stats could improve even more with a terrific receiver like Jackson Smith and Jigba. But I got, even though Hooker is ahead right now in first, I think Stroud is going to overtake that and snag that out of his hands, and that Ohio State will end up winning a national championship. But I'm for sure Ohio State is the better team than Tennessee, because Ohio State's defense is certainly better than Tennessee, easily.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, that is all for the questions we have. That is it for the Zoinked podcast tonight. I'm Walker Weiss, joined alongside by Sam Howie, Ethan Varnicle. Please like and subscribe and comment anything else you want us to talk about for the next episode. And hope you guys enjoy it. Have a great day, night, evening, wherever the hell you're at. Have a fucking blast. Good night.
Sure.
Peace.